Well, there's big news this morning. If you remember the illegals that beat up those two police officers in New York City recently, now ICE has arrested these suspects in Phoenix. So that's a story that Fox News is following that's breaking this morning. So we'll likely have learn more as the morning goes on. Wanted to share that with you before we dive into other things here this morning. The issue of the border continues to be a big story. And so Senator Kristen Sinema was on Fox News Channel. I think she was on Brett Baer's program. And she was talking about this border bill. Apparently the Senate bill, reports yesterday said that the Senate would pass this coming up tomorrow. And now there are reports, maybe not tomorrow, or it might be touchy. It might not pass the Senate now. Coming up tomorrow. So Senator Sinema was on Fox News talking about it. And she said, and she actually helped write the bill. And when I learned that, I'm like, oh, really? I mean, tell me it's not true. Please tell me it's not true. Kristen Sinema drafted the bill along with Senator Jim Lankford of Oklahoma, Democrat, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. And she says she was talking specifically about the section of the bill that's been most criticized by Republicans. And that is the triggering of emergency authority to prohibit migrant entry if average encounters surpass 4,000 or 5,000 a day. And she says, it's being mischaracterized. It's being mischaracterized. She said, I think there's some real misunderstanding about this section of the law. The Border Emergency Authority is actually a really critical element, she said. And she said the bill then expands on detention capabilities, considering the 7 to 10 year notice to appear time frame for migrants. 7 to 10 years you wait for a court date, and then if you show up, which we know, you and I know that most people are not going to show up. 7 to 10 years, you got to be kidding. How are you going to go find them? She said that's obviously a horrible, horrible outcome. But that is what happens with the majority of illegal entrants right now. So we expand detention beds so that those individuals will go into detention, be processed, and deported right away. Not everyone can go into detention, though. Little kids who are here alone, families, we're allowed to keep them in detention. And so we create a new system. Really? Could this get any worse? My brain's throbbing. Please help me. Help me. Somebody help me. I think my brain is leaking out of my ears here. Creating a new system. Oh, that's just what we need. That's just what America needs. So we create a new system for them where we keep them under supervision, and then we have a very short period of time in which we determine if their asylum claim is valid or not, and then deport them out of the country. Then we'll get around to it. You can't make this up. So that was Senator Kristen Sinema on Fox News Channel. And that's the way she explained it. Donald Trump was on Newsmax last night. Donald Trump was talking to Rob Schmidt of Newsmax. Now, tell me which is easier to understand. What Kristen Sinema is talking about or Donald Trump? Donald Trump actually covered a number of things, and we'll get to this issue of the border coming up. But Schmidt asked Trump, how can some Senate Republicans, that some are itching to sign off, those are his words, some Republicans are itching to sign off on this $118 billion bill? And Trump said, well, it's hard to believe because I think it would probably mean the end of their career. Trump said, this is a Democrat trap. It's a trap for Republicans that would be so stupid, so foolish to sign a bill like this. This bill can't be signed. And he said it's not only that, it's massive amounts of money going out of town, as we say. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it's so bad on the border. I've never seen anything like it. Actually, it's one of the dumbest bills I've ever seen. You know, that's saying something, Mr. Trump. That's one of the dumbest bills, and I would agree. But that's saying something. There's a lot of dumb coming out of Washington these days. And so Trump said, he went on to say, and we have been repeating this almost ad nauseum, and I will continue to do so, because this country is deaf. They do not hear. There are many in this country who just simply do not hear. Trump said, you don't need a bill. I had the safest border in the history of our country. We had no bill. I just said, close the border. It's closed, he said. We had the safest border in history, the history of our country. We had the safest border. He said, now we have, I believe, the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border like this, ever. I don't care where you go. Third world country, Trump said. I'm going to repeat this to you until I'm blue in the face. You don't need a bill. I had the safest border in the history of our country. We had no bill. I just said close the border. It's closed. Trump said. Senator Tim Scott went on to say the same thing in an interview that he had, I think, with, this was also on Fox News Channel. And so Scott was asked about this. The bill came out then apparently Sunday evening. People were starting to respond to it. And Senator Scott said, I'm a Hades no on this bill. And Senator Scott said of it, I think it's such a lie to think that Joe Biden needs Congress to act in order for him to secure the border. So responding to Biden saying you can't fix the border without fixes to the broken immigration system and additional funding. And he said, I'm thankful that we're finally having a conversation about the border, but it's the wrong one, he said. Should be in a silo. We should be fixing and securing our southern border, and the president of the United States can do that right now. He undid what Trump did. Joe Biden did that by himself. He literally shredded a secure border with his actions as president. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. You know what this whole border spectacle is about? What's going on in the Senate? In my opinion, just my own, they are desperate to get that $60 billion to Ukraine. I think that's what this is all about. Forget about that. This had nothing to do with the border. Joe Biden can secure the border now, today. Boom. Done. How many people are saying that? It's not just Donald Trump. It's not just Senator Tim Scott. Person after person knows this. You could close the border today and stop this nonsense. Stop what's going on in Texas. It's an absolute travesty what we see going down there. And I mentioned this yesterday. What we have seen Governor Abbott do in Texas is showing that taking that approach works. It works. Their numbers are down, and you know what's happening? Now people are knowing, oh, yeah, we can't get through it, Texas. It's razor wires up, and they're catching people, and, no, we got to, we'll go. Now they're moving down the line. Arizona, California, seeing additional incursions because Texas has said, we're not going to play this stupid game. This is nonsense. We're not going to do this. So then you wonder, what is this Senate bill all about? It's about that $60 billion for Ukraine. They're nuts to send this money to Ukraine. It is. And now, listen, there's money for the border, and we're doing this, and but we got to have this. There's money for Israel in there. Again, we could send money to Israel. We could do it yesterday. You don't need this bill with this Ukraine money and all of that's what all of this is about. It's honestly, what else could it be? I'd love your thoughts on this. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. You want to join the program? What else could it be? Nothing else makes sense. Joe Biden could close the border now. He doesn't need legislation. Donald Trump's right. Trump did it. He just did it. He said, we're going to close the border. We closed it down, built the wall. And again, he got support of Congress in building the wall. But closing down the border, he just did it. I always appreciate your perspective. 605-336-1320. I just have to say it. There is no issue every day, I think, that more just gets me. You just wind up getting angry over this and the lack of action. Steve, I'm glad you called. You're on Kello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I called Thune and Round's office yesterday, and the staff didn't know what their position was because they just got the bill and they were going to take time to read it. I just got off the phone to Thune's office. They still don't know what his position is. And his position should be no.
Yes.
No money for Ukraine. Give some money to Israel, but that could be a separate bill. But 5,000 people a day times 30 days a month, that's a zillion people. Anybody with a calculator can figure out that it's not going to make a bit of difference. And it's just a ploy to get more money.
Well, it sure seems like it. So you obviously don't think I'm nuts as I'm saying this. I just find this incredibly frustrating, Steve.
There are so many lies coming out of the Biden administration and their surrogates in the main media that people that don't pay attention and don't do the math, I guess they just are not awake.
It sure seems like it, yeah. Well, unfortunately, it sure seems like it. I'm glad you called. You certainly are on your toes. I appreciate it, Steve. Good morning, Scott. You're on Kello.
Greg, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, there's nothing broken about our immigration system. What's broken is the people in Washington who just don't like the way it works and refuse to enforce the law. We need people that want to protect American citizens. That's one of the enumerated powers in the Constitution. Joe Biden should be doing that, and he doesn't need Congress to pass more laws in order to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, as Trump was saying, he did it. He went through and did it. And, why can't Joe Biden? The idea that we need this legislation just makes your head throb.
And as far as Rounds and Thune, I wrote to both of them and called their offices yesterday. Got a couple of voice messages, please leave your name and number. I did talk to a staffer at Thune's office she's like, we don't do anything with policy decisions. We'll just take your comment. And it's like, that's an easy, hard no.
You can't blame those staffers. I mean, I feel for that. That would be a miserable job. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I certainly don't encourage anybody to be, treating staffers poorly.
No, I know that.
It's just frustrating that, in some cases you can't even talk to a person and voice your concern. And, I've written a number of letters here over the last couple of months, and it used to be you got a response, too. I haven't gotten a response in quite a while either, I suspect, because I'm telling them what they don't want to hear. But it's, I don't know why it would take them so long to come up. This bill gives the Democrats everything. I don't even understand what the compromise is. What do the Republicans and a conservative position get out of this?
That's a great question. You're absolutely right. Scott, thanks so much for your call. Good morning, Tom. You're on Kello.
Good morning, Greg. They don't give a rip about Ukraine. I mean, other than Biden owes them, some money for the favors they've done for him. I've said this a lot. This is all about, they are the drug cartel of the United States, and they are trying to gain one-party control in the United States. Even Rush Limbaugh said it years and years ago that they're trying to get as many voters as they can so that the Republicans will never be voted into office ever again.
Yeah, we all know that, but what does that have to do with this bill?
Because it is codifying illegal immigration. So there are parts of the bill all over the place, and you can read it, and it says that it's codifying illegal immigration.
It is, yeah.
And it will not allow, so it makes it law. And unless you have majorities, huge majorities, you can't change it.
That's a great point.
Yeah, okay, and so that's the point. And so that, on top of being their own drug cartel, that's why they're giving them all money and phones and anything they want, so that hopefully in the future they'll say, oh, yeah, Biden and whatever, they helped us and we're voting for them. But the worst part is...
No, we all know that.
It makes illegal immigration pretty much legal. That's the problem with it. It can't be changed.
Yeah, I follow your thinking, Tom. Thank you. I want to get to Jason's thoughts here, too. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. Jason, good morning. You're on Kello.
Morning, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. The caller that was talking about John Thune, and he calls in, and they don't listen to him. That's the whole problem is John Thune is not in charge. The constituents are in charge. What do they want? He needs to vote what they want, not what John Thune thinks is best, or Mike Rounds, or anybody else. That's how the system needs to work.
It seems that people are pretty clear on a lot of these issues, and our congressional delegation just seems to be out of step.
Yep.
Well, I understood. Jason, hang in there. Thank you for the phone call and your thoughts. Phone lines are open, 605-336-1320 is my number, 605-336-1320. You've even got one of the Democrat members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus who's over in the House of Representatives condemning this Senate bill. She said there are some good provisions in the bill, but she said there are many more that are not in line with our values. So what you're seeing is there's opposition from all over the place of this Senate bill. Good morning, Art. You're on Kello.
Good morning.
Hey, buddy.
So a couple of things. You're exactly right in everything you said. These callers have been so on top of it. Heck, it took me 20 minutes just to get a call through. So I have to agree with everything they're saying. It's just, this is despicable. We already have current laws that they're openly breaking. I don't know why they don't just follow the law in the first place.
Yeah, that's like Trump said. You could do it right now. You don't need a bill. Senator Scott said the same thing.
Yep. But somebody had said in one of the comments that Thune's office said that he's not made a decision yet. He was actually on some television broadcast, and I don't remember where I heard that now, but it was on Thune's website. One of the people speaking to him said, listen, you're quoted here as saying that this was, and I can't quote, this is important legislation that it will change. Gosh, dang it, I can't remember how it said, but he was saying it was the best legislation they can get for illegal immigration at the time. This is important. We have to act on it now. No, we don't. All we have to do is shut the border. We don't need a single piece of legislation to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Art, that's such a great point. And I think that's really important for everybody to understand. You can close the border now. You don't need any legislation to close the border. You can close the border now. You don't need legislation to do it. So all of this stuff, I thought Tom's point about getting people into the country illegally and then codifying that in order so that they can remain, that's a great point. Tom, I appreciate all of the calls that we received on that this morning. Thank you.